Hi folks, John from Designed Elegance Pastry Shop here. Welcome back. Thank you for tuning back into our segment on chocolate truffles. We are in the process of making our homemade chocolate candies, chocolate truffles, raspberry truffles. So we have our filling made. That's what we did last week. Now for this week, we want to scoop and roll that filling, and then we want to dip those and then garnish them so that they can be served and eaten and enjoyed. So without any further ado, let me get my ganache out so I can begin scooping it. One moment, please. Okay, so my filling that I made last week is very nice and firm, and I am going to use my little scoop here, simply because this is the perfect size. You don't want these to be too big because they just become very overwhelming. You got to realize this is a very rich product that we're making right now. So let's start scooping. Notice it's very firm. Okay. And I'm not going to be completely filling the scoop. Okay. But it's pretty much even across. Now, there are going to be some that are going to end up being bigger than others, which is okay. See, this one's more full. Okay. They're not all going to be exactly the same. You want to try and make them all the same, but they're all going to have their own unique little size and look.
A few moments later.
That's the way it
John,
is. Yes.
Also, for folks that may not be able to get the Noel chocolate, would these 73% from, say, the grocery store work?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I know
Absolutely.
The cocoa content would be higher, so it would be
right.
Maybe just a touch more strong and maybe a little nuttier and a little bit more redder, I think. Well,
basically, all different types of chocolate are going to have their own different unique characteristics. The 64% that I'm going to be using, I prefer it because it is a very viscous chocolate, meaning when it's melted, it's very loose and very runny. Okay, some chocolates, like if you were to take chocolate chips and try to melt those in order to to dip your chocolate truffles into, you'll notice that chocolate is going to be very stiff. Okay, even though it's melted and is warm, it's not going to be very loose. It's not going to be very liquidy. It's going to be very tight. And it's not really, basically what's going to happen is when you dip your cold truffle in, it's going to, so much of the chocolate is going to tighten around it that it's just going to be too much. So that's why I like to use a looser chocolate. So, but I would recommend that you just, try all the different kinds. I mean, there's plenty of places to buy chocolate, and there's plenty of novelty and specialty chocolates out. There's plenty of chocolates from overseas, and we all have access to the same thing. So you folks should just try what you like and use what you like. Or try it all and use what you like. Use what works best for you, okay? So Ghirardelli chocolate is very good. That's a wonderful chocolate. Now that white chocolate, the Ghirardelli white chocolate chips, when you melt that, it's very smooth and very loose, and that's a wonderful chocolate to dip these truffles into as well. If I wanted to make white chocolate truffles, it would be the same thing. So, but we're going to use dark chocolate for today. So anyway, I've got a bunch of these done, and I'm going to save this for another day. So we'll just put the plastic right back on. We'll put this back in the fridge or in the freezer. And like I said, we'll just save that for another day. In the meantime, I have a wet rag here. Now, I'm going to start rolling these into balls, basically like cookie balls. And like I said, it's going to get messy, okay? I have a wet rag here, okay? If you try and use a dry rag, it's just going to make a mess, and it's going to be terrible for the rag, and you're never going to be able to actually keep your hands clean. So I like to use a warm, damp cloth in between, okay? And what I want to do is roll as many as I can before I have to wipe my hands. Okay, so that's the key. So let's get started. Alright, this is a sit-down job. Alright, I'm going to go with the ones I did first. And basically, I'm just going to loosely roll. Okay, now, I'm not trying to put pressure on. See, look at this. One, and here you go. Okay, you don't want to do a lot of pressure, okay, because that just makes a mess on your fingers and you never squish it into a true circle, true round ball. Okay, so like I said before, each one of these is going to have its own shape, its own unique size, okay, but they're all going to look different and yummy and homemade, and that's going to be the beauty of them, so to speak. So we'll put these back in the freezer for a few minutes while we melt the chocolate that we're going to use to dip the truffles into. Okay. Just one more. All right, there we go. Now, I've used gloves before to try and combat the problem of this mess. And you would think that the gloves would be more sanitary and everything. But to tell you the truth, you have really no control when you wear gloves. And as long as you wash your hands with soap in between, each time and each project, you're not going to have a problem. So that being said, we're going to take a moment. I'm going to go wash my hands. I'm going to put these in the freezer, and I'm going to go melt some chocolate. So bear with us for just a moment, and we'll be right back. Thank you. All right, folks, welcome back. I've now got my chocolate all nice and melted, and I have my truffles that have been in the freezer. They're nice and chilled. So before I get them out and start dipping them, I did want to make one mention of the container that I'm using for my chocolate. Notice it's somewhat deep. It's not shallow, okay? Basically, what I want is if it was wide and shallow, then there wouldn't be very much room to dip the truffles into. But by it being a smaller amount of space, but being very deep, then I can actually drop them in and let them and basically dunk them, so to speak. So that's the main reason. And also, I like porcelain, or actually, I just like kitchenware, okay, basically, so to speak, to melt chocolate in, because it will actually hold the heat for the chocolate for a long time. So, like I said, I have a deep dish, and it's porcelain, and notice my chocolate. See how viscous it is? See how loose it is? And that's the benefit to using the chocolate that I am using. But again, you use the chocolate that you like and that you're comfortable using. I like using this nice viscous chocolate because it's just quicker and easier to work with for myself. And also, like I said, it doesn't end up being too thick on the chocolate candy. So, that being said, I'm going to just take my spatula here, wipe it off, set it on the table. And now I have a pan with parchment paper on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a spoon with nice big slats in it to dip my truffles. I'm going to basically use a motion where I dip down. Okay, I have my truffle. I'll set it on top. I'll dunk it. I'll lift it out, and I'll let it sit. As that's draining, I'm going to be grabbing the next truffle and dropping it in. And then I'll set this truffle onto the tray, and then that's the process and the procedure, and it will continue on from there until I'm done. Basically, I find that for my motion, that's the perfect amount of time to do the dunk and let enough chocolate drip off. If I don't let it drip off, if I say dunk it right away and try to lift it off and put it on the pan, then I'm going to get a huge puddle on the pan, where the chocolate, just the excess chocolate, drips off of the truffle. We don't want that. Okay, we want it to be nice and neat. Okay, so that being said, let me grab the chocolate truffles that are nice and chilled truffles, but they're actually truffle cores. So, okay, now whenever I do chocolate, I'd like to make sure my sleeves are extra rolled up. Okay, so, like I said, now I'm right-handed, so I'm going to use the spoon over here. I'm going to start with one. I'm going to drop it in. I'm going to take my spoon and I'm going to do a sweeping motion where I go down and then back up. And as I go down, I'm going to push the truffle core down to the bottom and then scoop it back out, like so. Actually, I want to cover it. Okay, and now I'm just going to let it sit. Drop another one in. Now I'm going to take this one and I'm just going to let it slide it off of the spoon and then let it slide right through my fingers, just like so. And put it on the pan. Okay. So now I'm just going to wipe my spoon here. You want to do this now while the chocolate is nice and warm. Otherwise, whatever is on it is going to be on it. Now, one thing you don't want to do is pour warm chocolate down your drain, your sink drain. Okay? Because I'll tell you what's going to happen. It's going to seep down your drain, and it's going to solidify right inside the pipes, and nothing's going to get through it, I promise. This happened actually once at my house. I had made some kind of chocolate thing. And the pan got washed, not realizing, and I was at work, and all of a sudden I get this phone call, and my wife is like, John, I tried to wash your chocolate pan, and I got halfway done with it, and then the sink stopped up. And I thought about it, and I kind of giggled a little bit, and I'm like, all right, honey, well, you go ahead and grab your hairdryer, and go under the sink, and get that sucker warm and cooking, and heat it up, and then run some hot water through, or boiling water, and hopefully that'll take care of it. And sure enough, it did. So you want to avoid that. So you always want to take your chocolate, you want to let it get solid, and then you want to like scrape it or transfer it or whatever. So that being said, like if I were going to be if I wanted to wash this from this point, okay, what I would have to do is take a spatula and scoop all of this chocolate out, put it on some pan like so, okay, and then solidify it, and then I could, work with it or move it around or whatever. I would never just, put this in the dishwasher, okay? That's going to just be a terrible mess. Anyway, so I'm yipping, and basically, the last thing that we want to do, now before I put these in the cooler, okay, if I put these in the cooler now, they're going to solidify right up, and then the red chocolate that I drizzle onto these actually will not stick. So I'm going to leave these on the table. I'm going to take just a moment. I'm going to leave this whole mess right here. I'm just going to wash my hands real quick, and I'm going to take my red chocolate, and I'm going to give it a quick melt. So don't go anywhere. All right, folks, I have taken a moment to take some of my red candy melts here. Okay, it's basically red chocolate, these little Diskins here. And I put some in a cup, microwaved it, and basically this kind of chocolate, it's like white chocolate. Okay, it is white chocolate basically, but you want to stir it a lot. Okay, the more you stir it, the looser it gets, which is interesting. Okay, so but basically, it's just like melting any other chocolate. You want to do it low and slow, little at a time, and then when it's done, it's done. So this is done. Notice how it's nice and loosey. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to drizzle it. Okay, a couple things. Number one, I'm going to use my spatula. See how it's vertical? Okay, what I'm going to do is it's not horizontal, it's vertical. Okay, and that little drip there, Okay, if I just kind of shake my little spatula here, see how that drip just runs along and, yeah. So basically, I want to run that on all these. Okay, so what I'm going to do, you don't want to have a big glob, so you want to let some of it run off first, and then you want to give it a little shaky shake, like so. It looks right when they're all in lines like that. If you were just haphazard and they went this way and that way and every which way, I think that would look a little too busy. I think it looks a little more professional when they're all in lines like this. But at the same time, you can always just do swirls too, see, like this. Okay, and that gives it a different look. So, like I said, baking, folks, baking is all about you. Okay, it's how you like to do it. It's all about the love and the joy that you get out of doing it, and you get out of passing it on, and the people that you bake for. Okay, they're going to know that you put your time and your effort into that. They're going to appreciate that. It's going to taste even better than it would have. So, baking, like I said, is all about personal choice, personal preference, what works for you. Okay, and that's what baking's all about to me, anyway. So, basically, these are done. What we want to do now is just chill them from here. And it only takes 5 minutes in the refrigerator, and they become completely solid. But quite frankly, I like to chill them and then put them in papers and so on and so forth, and make them all nice and neat. Put them on a tray, make them all beautiful presentation and everything. But quite frankly, when they come back down to room temperature, okay, that's when they're going to taste the best. And that being said, if we try one now before we even put them in the fridge, it probably doesn't really get any better than that. So, that would definitely so I guess what I'm saying is now's the time to eat one. So, shall we?
Yes. Definitely we shall.
Let's not even put them in the fridge. Let's just try one right now. Okay? Go ahead, just grab one. There you go. Now make sure, don't just eat the whole thing. You got to bite halfway through and see, check out the difference in the texture from the fudge inside and the chocolate on the outside. Yeah? Oh, look at his eyes, folks. Oh, my goodness.
Oh my God, these are sinful. Oh, my God. That is...
How is that? Is that yummy?
I don't have any words.
So can you taste the raspberry?
Yeah.
Yeah?
The chocolate is more of the champion up front, but there's like this little tartness.
Okay.
That's, I think, the raspberry.
Yeah.
But this little like swirling stuff here with the
red.
Oh.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I suppose I should try one.
Your fingers are going to get mushy, as you can see.
See how it's nice and solid inside, but very creamy and loose. And now, notice, folks, on the outside, you don't have a big, giant glob of chocolate. Okay? You have basically the core of the truffle is the majority of the truffle. The outside chocolate, we want to just enrobe the core and not have it be too much. We don't want it to overpower that tasty yumminess inside. So, oh man, 2 bites. Oh, that was my raspberry bite right there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, people at home, make sure you tune in for the next series. We're going to be doing something very special. Not going to tell you what it is. You're going to have to tune in to find out.
We've got some wonderful things on the horizon, and hopefully you will be interested and enjoy watching. So,
anybody that's new, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. Whenever we post a new video, you'll get an alert immediately.
And on that note, folks, remember what I always say: bake with love and with passion, and whatever you make is sure to be delicious. So, happy baking. Thank you very much. See you next time.